What's up, everybody? You are tuned into the Elks Call with the Elks Herd. My name is Scout, aka the rep from Section X.
And I'm Catherine, aka Do You Even Elks?
And today we were supposed to have a very special guest, our good friend Ryan Messer, our Alabama sports analyst, the guy who covered the 2023 USFL Birmingham Stallions championship season. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it in today, due to illness. So we hope you get better soon, Ryan.
It's going around.
It's going
The way
around.
we know it, we had to cancel last week's episode because we were both sick. Everybody was
Exactly.
sick, so.
Yeah, no, we are on our return from, almost pulling off a sick episode. So I'm happy that we didn't. Thank you, everybody, for being patient. And we are happy to be back. All right. So for our show today, we're going to reflect on that Elks versus Lions game in Kathy's quarter by quarter. And then after that, we're also going to talk about that Elks versus Argos game coming up after the bye on October 6th. So that's going to be a pretty big game. Is it 6 or 9? 6, right? 6. And then after that, we are going to announce the winner of the 2023 Edmonton Elks Tailgate Chili Cook-Off. Oh, it was awesome. We're going to talk about that a little bit more after that quarter by quarter. So then after that, we're going to give you the Edmonton Sports update, and then we're going to open up the fan forum. So please blow up the chat. We definitely want to see the chat blow up tonight, especially without a guest. We want to talk to you guys. So after the fan forum, we'll open it up for questions and shoot the breeze. So cool.
Yeah, well, let's get started.
Let's talk about that BC Lions game.
Yeah, so September 22nd against the BC Lions game, and I'm actually going to take it half by half, not quarter by quarter, just because it's the two of us. So I apologize if I'm talking a little too much as I get to the discussion points. But, I mean, we missed the majority of the first quarter.
Yeah.
We were too busy wrapping up with the chili cook-up, which we will talk about a little bit later. We totally missed that pick 6 by number 29 Gray, which is his first touchdown.
Yeah,
So that's Kai Gray.
Kai Gray, that was a massive one, especially after you did the player profile.
Yes, he had a great game, and I mean, I think we got there just in time to see that BC player number 86 run for that touchdown.
Is that Katoy or who's that?
I believe so. I can't remember. I didn't write it down. But that was disappointing.
Yeah.
That was disappointing. I think that was the second touchdown that BC had. We had missed the majority of that, and coming in to see that was very, very disappointing. Although I did remember walking by and being like, "Whoa, why is that guy so fast?"
Yeah.
Because those BC boys, man, they are fast.
Oh, BC, right? Well, and we knew that going into this game. Unfortunately, we knew that BC has, top 3, top 4 team right now in the league. So you knew that they were gonna get on us fast, and especially with that side play as well, right? Yes. The play on the sidelines. For whatever reason, we seem to be weak there this year in our defensive schemes. So it was a little bit painful for that one, but
definitely. And I mean, it was also on the Elks because they definitely fell short during that first quarter by turning the ball over on downs quite a bit.
Yeah.
Trey Ford again seemed to want to rely on his running game, but the BC defense had him figured out right from the beginning. So of course this resulted going into the second behind. 21-7 was the score. And of course, starting the second quarter, Trey Ford pretty much immediately gets taken down by the Lions defense,
right.
Which forces them to kick the ball away once again. That together with the BC offense being on fire during the game, it certainly didn't give us any happy feelings. Let's just put it that way, as we were sitting on that.
Well, and I mean, it's that BC defensive line, right? They broke down our offensive line more times than not, and we haven't seen our team have to play, another elite team or an elite team, sorry,
Yep.
because the Elks definitely are far from elite. They're hot right now. We can definitely call them hot. We're still like 2 years away from being an elite team if we build around Trey Ford. That being said, uh, we haven't seen our offensive line have these kind of problems since before the bye week of changes.
Definitely. Ever since we started seeing a lot of the changes with Trey Ford being added to the mix and the change in the offensive coordinator, right now, this was the first time that we knew it was going to be a real challenge and we
Yeah,
really had to come and play, like you say, an elite team and see how we stack up to somebody like that. But
yep.
I don't think I have seen Ford struggle this much before, which who knows how many sacks I was not counting, but
There's a lot.
definitely a lot of sacks throughout this game. I know he dropped the ball in the second quarter at some point, but thankfully Cordy guarded that ball like it was made out of gold for
Yeah,
sure. Um, and I mean, we got the turnover right after that, which was nice. That resulted in that beautiful pass to Gino,
yeah.
who was just happy to be doing Gino Lewis things and
Gino
doing his
thanks.
things. Gino thanks.
Gino thanks.
And, in the last 90 seconds of the second quarter, Ford completed a pass to Mitchell for a touchdown before the teams exchanged field goals to make the score 24-17. So now let's stop here and let's talk about the elephant in the room. Somebody that we have talked to about pretty much every single episode for the past few ones, and it's Trey Ford.
Yeah.
Like, what was up with him this game?
Lots of overthrows. There's overthrows, underthrows. Don't know if it was the jitters. What I do think is that the BC defensive line having that kind of pressure, and you couple that with film. We don't talk
Mhm.
about film enough or preparation enough, but you take a look at Trey Ford's first couple games versus, these last couple. Something you and I were just talking about before we went live was the issues that they're finding in the first, 2 to 3 quarters, really. They can't seem to find that rhythm in the last 2 games that they've played.
Mhm.
That differs from the first Stampeders game, the Labor Day game, that is, and then the Winnipeg Blue Bombers game here at home after the bye week.
Mhm.
So the film and all of the changes, there's no film on those changes, right? So if teams can't prepare for it, then obviously you're going to do good, especially if you have a good scheme that you've just come up with or a refresh scheme or whatever, especially with a different type of quarterback. Taylor Cornelius, he's good with his legs. He's done a lot of those type of plays, but not quite as well as Trey Ford does it.
Mhm.
So yes, there is a difference in having Trey Ford because he's faster and he knows that he can rely on those legs. But the problem with that is that it gets stale after a while and defenses will start to pick up and
Yeah,
coordinators will
they
pick up
were
on it, right?
reading him. No
Reading him.
problem.
Well, and by breaking down that line, they knew that by breaking it down and getting, two guys in on him to put in that pressure. They
Yep.
they were obviously going 4-man pressure. I
Mhm.
think there was even, at some point a 5-man pressure. Like they were
Yes,
they were throwing
they
the
were
kitchen
on him.
sink. And it wasn't quite blitz. It wasn't blitz because it wasn't all in on the quarterback. They still had decent coverage in certain areas. It was just making sure that they broke down our offensive line and exploited our weaknesses.
Yeah.
BC did that very, very well. And Rick Campbell, great coach. I can't say anything bad about Rick Campbell because he's a very great coach. I know that a lot of Edmonton Elks fans wanted Rick Campbell here as the
Mhm.
coach, myself included. I believe that Rick Campbell here would be a fairy tale story because obviously his dad, Hugh Campbell, a very storied career here in Edmonton. But once again, right? Hindsight 2020.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we have Chris Jones, and there's no disrespect towards Chris Jones. Obviously, he's been handed a, a, a brutal hand without saying a swear. He's been handed a brutal hand. He has now made the right choices in having Jarius Jackson on offensive coordinator duties, and it has been good. But now we have to reinvigorate the game plan because the film is already starting to get stale.
and that's just it. And I mean, definitely, I agree with you that I think they were reading Trey Ford down to the letter, right? They knew exactly where he was going, no mercy whatsoever, just pushing through and getting him down as quickly as possible without giving him even a chance really to figure out where he was going, especially when he has been relying so much on the run rather than throwing.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I'm wondering, right, and this is just me thinking back on the beginning of the season that he wasn't started, some comments that were being made by Chris Jones saying that he wasn't quite ready yet, that there was still some development, that he still
Mhm.
needed some training time. It's whether we know that he has amazing legs. He has an amazing running game. He has an arm that can throw. We have seen amazing passes.
Oh, easily.
But where is it that he falls short? Is it reading the defense from the other team, the opposition? Is he not able to really read it properly to make those split moment decisions of knowing where to throw and who to throw it with? Is he not comfortable with that? Is that what Chris Jones was referring to in terms of development time?
Yeah, and I think you and I, when we were sitting there in Section X, represent, when we were sitting there in Section X, we noticed that. We noticed that he wasn't releasing the ball fast enough or making the proper reads fast enough, right? So if he wasn't getting the player that he wanted, or if he wasn't liking what he saw, within 1 second, he instantly went into scramble mode.
How many times did we see Gino Lewis or Manny Arsenault going like
Yeah.
this down the
Yeah.
field, right? Being like, "Hey, we're open." We're screaming down the sidelines, being like, "He's open." Like, throw. Don't want to swear, but throw it.
Well, and it's interesting because I'd like to bring up Taylor Cornelius's dad. Shout out Warren if you're listening to the show. Warren Cornelius, he actually posted on our page, the Elks Herd, on Facebook about pressure and how much pressure is affecting Taylor Cornelius.
Mhm.
Without exactly saying it, he he was pointing out how much that pressure was affecting Taylor and how the plays were basically dictated off of that, right?
Mhm.
So we saw Trey Ford in a scenario where the pressure was immense. Now we saw scoring in this game against
Yeah, at
BC,
least
which
it
is
wasn't a
amazing.
zero.
Yes, and shout out John. We see you in the chat. Thank you. We are very happy to be back tonight. The horn.
No.
No, there was no issues.
The only issues is scout slips.
Yeah.
That he just absolutely blows them every single time.
Yeah, a little bit.
No, but yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what you said. I mean, it's now Trey Ford has had the chance to see what a real challenge is. And I don't want to say that the previous games were not a challenge, but it was a different kind of challenge.
Yeah.
He definitely was put in a position that he had to make different uh, playmaking choices that
Mhm.
perhaps he wasn't ready for. And now that hopefully will push him even more to be able to improve his game and look at certain areas that he's not necessarily quite 100% yet
Yeah.
and just improve on that, right?
Yeah, well, and it's a big learning lesson for everybody in that game, right? Especially Trey Ford.
Yeah.
We all know that he's not necessarily a throw first quarterback, but having Trey Ford become either well rounded or a throw first quarterback, especially with that arm,
Hmm.
it's going to be nothing but benefit to everybody.
Definitely. He's amazing.
Yeah.
What did you say? He just told me, you just told me right before we started here that people are calling it the
Ford Field.
Ford
People
Field.
calling it Ford Field. I personally love that one. Yeah, I walked into the Elks team store. I talked to Christine, and there's all sorts of words that went across the Ford effect, Ford
Oh,
Field.
my goodness.
Nothing runs like a Ford. Everybody's going hard on this
Well, see, and
merchandise.
that's I
Uh,
should jump
uh,
on that. But that hopefully is a really good push for Ford to
yeah.
really start improving on certain aspects of his game that he was falling short on. But let's go into the third and fourth quarter.
Right. Better parts of the game.
Yes and no. I mean, it was okay. We definitely came close enough. Let's get into it. At this point, we started to get a feel that perhaps this might be a kick to win game. We started seeing a lot of back and forth
Yeah.
drives that were not necessarily going anywhere, and it was just a matter of getting them close enough to kicking range.
Yeah.
I got that.
Field goal range. Yeah,
There
you're
you
good.
go.
You're good.
My dyslexia kicked in there. Um, but even trying to run Kevin Brown wasn't necessarily getting us much yardage this game,
Right.
right? I mean, he did have a little bit of a stumble and he had to step out for a little bit, but he came back. Um, but even then, Ford threw that very long pass to Kyron Moore, who could not keep a hold of the ball, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Seresna, though, he certainly proved once again to be a powerhouse in the sack department.
Yeah.
So, but still not quite enough to make our drives meaningful. We went into the fourth quarter behind by 10 points, with Ford just not being able to escape the pocket. Just
No.
the same story that we had seen right from the beginning of the game. And having that punt deflected, of course, which seriously messed up my anxiety levels because that is way too many turnovers, almost
Yeah.
turnovers for my liking, you know. And of course, the Lions kicker got them another field goal, but we managed to push the subsequent drive back.
Mr. Sean White, by the way.
Yes,
Mr. Sean
Sean
White.
I
Put
have
some respect.
heard.
We
I
got to put
have
some
heard.
respect on this man's name.
I could not.
Game number 200 for Sean White. How many of those were with the double E?
Right.
Love that man. Anyways, sorry.
I was not allowed to say anything bad about Sean White. So.
We weren't.
No, you were not even blowing the horn for Sean
No,
White.
it's Sean White. You guys, I mean, come on. In the chat, you got to agree. If there's one person on that BC team that we have to, and it used to be Michael Riley, the artist formerly, or the athlete formerly known as Mike. But Michael Riley, whenever he was out there, tried to keep it respectful. Same deal. Sean White. Now, come on. You got to give him some respect. And I as much as I would love for him to miss a field goal, at the same time, he's done some very great things for the double E.
I suppose. You gotta respect.
Put some respect. 2 C's. 2 C's.
But yeah, we managed to push the subsequent drive back 64 yards to give Mitchell his second touchdown of the game. And the Elks got the ball back within, I think it was like a minute 30 remaining. But Ford once again faced another sack at the Edmonton 38 on a third down, which was depressing.
That was the seal of the deal right there.
Yep, that's when we knew that was game. The final score was 37-29. So I mean, what did you think about the game overall? What would you say worked and what didn't?
Well, see, the best part about this game is that we finally got points against the BC Lions. Right. The Elks, their stats on it, I don't know if we've actually ever been shut out twice in a season, let alone by the same team. But BC had our number in the first half of the year. Seeing offensive points, because that Kai Gray, that was a great interception. Don't get me wrong. Offensive points is what this team needed in order to show progress. Really. Really needed to show progress in this game. They did. There was hope for a win. Now, did we expect a win or should we have expected a win? I don't believe the fan base should have expected a win by any means. But the fact that they played a competitive game and kept it down to the last 4 to 5 minutes, right? Even then, it was like 3 minutes, I want to say, before it was finally okay, yeah, we're cooked. We're cooked. We're done. Yeah. But the Elks also didn't give up. They tried to advance the ball. BC's defense did great. BC did fantastic.
Their offense was great too.
Sure, yeah. Vernon Adams, he did amazing. Despite all the chirps that he may have received, Vernon, good old Vernon Adams, he played a really, really good game. And sure, he threw a ball or two away. I would credit those, like that Kai Gray especially. Kai Gray read that play. He read that play. That was good film. That was good defense. He was ball hawking out there. Did fantastic. But overall, BC, you can't really touch them right now if you're the Edmonton Elks. Still, next year, I expect a lot more competition on the field. But for going, scoreless offensive in the first 2 games, I don't think we can complain about this game.
Definitely. I think we all walked into this game being like, as long as there's not a 0 on the board by the end of this is done, right? So I mean, I don't know if I would call it an improvement from some of the games that we have seen, but at the same time, it was a completely different game that they have played, right? It's
Yeah.
not, it was different sets of challenges. It was a team that has been a lot more competitive with every other single team in the league, right? I think we all needed to check our expectations, and the fact that we did as well as we did is fantastic and it's great.
Steve Benassi said it, and Steve, I just want to say, I'm pretty sure I looked over at Catherine at that point in the game, and I said, "That's it."
Yeah.
I said, "That's it." The BC touchdown in the third, when Elks were 3 points behind, was the Elks called turning point.
That is. That's
The
what we're
Elks called
calling it
turning
now.
point,
The
and it
Elks called
was
turning
it.
point. It was.
We were so close, right? We were right there, and then they got that, and you knew that the momentum just kind of went bruh. Everything
Yeah.
just bruh. You knew that we weren't quite gonna get back up there.
And just like we have seen in a lot of game, it's kind of like an entire team effort, right?
Yeah,
There was not. I mean, obviously Ford had some hiccups there.
yeah,
He definitely had way too many sacks that we have not seen that of him just yet. We had uh dropping the ball,
yeah. Some draw
we
passes,
draw
some draw
passes.
passes.
We also had a missed kick in there by Faithful.
Yeah,
He missed that one, right? So it's a full team effort, and there were little things that happened that definitely could have improved that they shouldn't have
totally.
happened, and it's they had a lot of chances to score. And just think about that, right? If they were that close,
It
and
was
if
a win.
those misses had not been misses,
Yes, yeah. It was a winnable game,
whew,
right? And that's as long as your team makes it close and
yeah,
competitive. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see your team getting blown out and
no,
shut out, right? Candor up and down game, stuck with them until the end. Ford needs to work on his looks down the
hmm
field. As you guys said, there were some open receivers, and he did not seem to see them, and that's very true. We saw that, right?
yeah,
And from where we were sitting, I mean, we even saw that interception, Darius Bratton.
yes,
The Darius Bratton interception, we actually saw that they tried to challenge it. We did indeed see that happen, and I said immediately we got it. So from where we're sitting in Section X, we do see a lot of things that you may not see on the TV feed, right?
hmm
Same thing for fans directly opposite, 5 sections over. We're all going to see different things on the field for sure. But that's one of the best parts about going to the game live. You get
yeah,
to see all of those little things and the fine details, depending on where you're sitting, and even then you can choose where you want to watch. Right? You want to watch downfield and
hmm
predict that play, you can watch that.
yeah,
But unfortunately, we were watching Gino, and Gino was wide open, and I think
yeah.
I said that in the first half. I was like, Gino's
It's
right
not
there.
right
Gino,
there.
he's
He's
right
right there. He's
there.
like
He's right
going. He's
there.
going like this.
Yeah,
But I mean, I couldn't imagine how hard it would be seeing four beefy guys coming at you, running at you, trying to take you down as you're trying to do a split second decision to throw the ball. Right. I
yeah,
mean, I'm not discounting how difficult that would be, but that's also Trey Ford's job.
yeah.
Right. And he needs to be able to read those situations a little bit better, I think, because there were a lot of missed opportunities there that could have turned the game around even more than it already did.
Well, it's kind of like cheating, right? Because remember when we were watching these games last year, and I was explaining to you about how having a run option. You remember when Trey Ford had his couple of starts and then he got injured after that
hmm
huge throw.
hmm
Beautiful throw. Still remember it.
Still remember
Yeah, beautiful.
it.
But when we were watching that, and you didn't get to see quite enough Trey Ford, but it is kind of like cheating. After a while, though, like any other cheat, like any other
Oh
scheme or
man,
anything else, eventually you're gonna get caught out.
how many people called that out, right?
Yeah,
After the game, they were like, "Oh, Ford got exposed. Ford got
yeah,
exposed." And I wouldn't say it. I mean, he's a fantastic athlete, but I think the what's lacking was a lot more obvious,
yeah.
right? So,
No, it's the more or less like the fundamentals of being a quarterback. You have to throw the ball. Uh, it's the decision making for sure. And I think Ford got a little bit too comfortable with the scramble, and that's fair
right.
because he's great at the scramble. But eventually, somebody's going to be better than you, and
hmm
they will figure out what you're doing, and they will stop you. And unfortunately, that's what happened with Trey Ford. And the Elks are obviously going to go right back to the drawing board. How beautiful would it be if the Argos if we won that Argos game coming up, right?
Yeah, and well, Candor 27 here says that BC did well against our Russia game, and we couldn't seem to answer in the past game, which is
Yeah, that's true.
exactly
Yeah, that's true.
what we've been discussing for sure. And yes, I mean, the next game that we have is Edmonton versus Toronto, the Argo game on Friday, October 6th. We will be there. We
Argos.
actually will be traveling to Toronto to see the game. So we are excited to be able to provide some footage or something there. From I've actually never been to BMO Field, so
No, me neither.
I'm quite excited about that. There have been some transactions. American linebacker Caleb Tanner and national wide receiver Danny Vandervoort were released. What is happening with that revolving door?
Danny boy.
What is happening there? He keeps, I don't know, maybe they'll bring him back in a couple of
I
days.
hope
We'll
they bring
see.
him back.
American defensive back Dwayne Thompson II was also released, and there are no injury reports that have been released yet
Because it's the
it's
bye
a
bye bye week.
It's a bye week.
Bye week.
And but what do you think is going to happen? What are your predictions?
Toronto Argonauts. So we're gonna talk about this in a bit in the fan forum. So make sure you all stick around because the fan forum is gonna be popping on this question. I know there's a lot of salt going around the CFL right now in regards to the Toronto Argonauts. My second favorite team, by the way. If I was not a Double E fan, Argos. Very, very beautiful double blue. Though I don't like the Cambridge, I'm not a big fan. Anyways, so Toronto Argonauts, they're going to play Chad Kelly at home. They're not playing Chad Kelly this week in Winnipeg, but they most likely will play Chad Kelly at home. Why? Because the Toronto Argonauts need the fans.
Yeah.
You only get the fans in by saying, "Hey, come check out this playoff bound Chad Kelly, who's rebuilt his football career." And props to Chad Kelly, he's doing amazing. But they're not going to sit many starters in that Elks game, even though that they don't have much to play for in that Elks game. They're not. I don't think they're going to sit their starters. We'll see. But from what reports are saying, they're going to play the starters at home because that's how you maintain your fans. If we were in that scenario and we sat, Trey Ford, people are going to be choked, right? Yeah,
people would riot.
people would riot. So exactly. So I mean, I think that for that game, I think if the Edmonton Elks do win that game against the Argos, it's going to be a massive character building block win. If they do not win, it's going to be expected. So
you know what? I'm gonna say that we're gonna win, just mostly because we're gonna be hungry.
Okay.
Hopefully, we had rested. We had a week to hopefully go over a whole bunch of film, hopefully go over a whole bunch of plays, hopefully work on Ford's reading abilities,
yes,
and being able to pass the ball. So I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm just gonna think that win away would be absolutely amazing. John, big fan.
Are your kids? Are your kids?
We're not bringing the kids.
You're not bringing the kids.
No, I don't like doing long travels with the kids. And Steve Benassi, I cannot say your comment out loud here in live YouTube.
Nice, beautiful, beautiful, good one, Steve. But hey, good one. They should play Kelly, Steve Benassi down there. They should play Kelly. I don't like that approach.
Well,
we're gonna talk about it. Oh, we gonna talk about it. And then the fans deserve to see the best team. Like I said, we are gonna talk about it. So like we said,
now it's time. Let's
chili
move on and
cook-off.
We're gonna talk about our chili cook-off and do the winner announcement. Before we announce the winner, however, can you tell me just a little bit more about what went down and what the prizes are?
All right. So first off, thank you for watching, everybody that's tuning in on YouTube tonight, and everybody that's listening on Edmonton Sports Talk Friday night. Now, we partnered up with the Turf District. We also partnered up with You Need a Barbecue down in Sherwood Park. And then the Edmonton Elks as well. We partnered with those guys. If anybody knows what that organization's all about. They have supplied, the Edmonton Elks have actually supplied a prize pack for this. You Need a Barbecue, a class in their November 4th Tailgate barbecue class. That's amazing. That's
Yeah, it's really cool. I didn't even know those were a thing, but I have seen some pictures of the events that they put on, and they look super fun.
Yeah, no, and I mean I didn't know that white chili existed either.
I know,
So
that was weird.
thank you. You need a barbecue for getting in on this, coming down and making white chili. I guess that was a an award winning chili.
Yes, it was very tasty, but very confusing to look at because it had all the components of chili, but it was
It was
white.
white. It was weird. So yeah, so and then on top of that, ourselves and the Turf District are going to be supplying some merchandise as well. I think I accidentally spoke for them and said, "Oh yeah, a T-shirt." I don't know if they're going to bring in a T-shirt. However, I know that we're going to be supplying a hat, some other goodies that we've ordered. So very cool. But what we ended up doing was we partnered with all of these great people to bring Edmonton Elks tailgaters a chili cook-off. So just so everybody knows that's watching and listening, we've never hosted a chili cook-off. We had no idea what we were doing. We just said, "Hey,
I keep
let's
calling it the first annual, though, because
first annual."
Yes, because it will continue to
Totally,
happen.
totally, and it's going to be a little bit more organized next
Of
year.
course.
We're obviously not going to charge anybody,
No.
but we're going to cap it off probably at 25-30. It's going to be a great event. So on Friday, everybody scrambled down to Commonwealth immediately after work. Everybody set up their stalls with their stall numbers and made some awesome chili for college kids and all the
Everybody.
fans, CFL fans.
And I mean, the main reason why this came to us as a thought is because of some feedback that we had received from people in the tailgate, thinking that, um, there was a little bit of a disconnect between people just walking by and the little individual parties. So we wanted to make sure that we crossed that bridge, that people had the opportunity to go around in the tailgate and talk to every single person and all the stalls and make it more of a community feel kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Something a lot more sociable than we're used to in the tailgate.
Well, and yeah, breaking the barrier, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people that are walking through the biggest complaint that we've gotten is that it feels like private parties, right? It feels like a bunch of private parties where you don't really feel too welcome to go up and talk. So for us, we wanted to get everybody to talk. We wanted, fellow tailgaters to get in on it. If you didn't have a chili, go taste some chilies. Uh, we wanted to have fun with everybody, and we also wanted to break that barrier. And I would say, like for us, we handed out around 100, somewhere between 100 and 200 samples.
Yeah.
We counted over 300 ballots. It was it was a really big deal. So we can't thank everybody enough for participating. We will be doing this again. We do have sponsors that are already talking to us about getting in on this. So it will be a bigger, better event next year for sure. That being said, the criteria for the chili cook-off was presentation and taste. And then, of course, the ballots. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner, the champion of the first annual Edmonton Elks Tailgate Chili Cook-Off is stall number 2.
And that is Deanne and Merv Jennings. Yay!
And we got cheering too. Cheer. There we go.
There you go.
So
Congratulations.
Congratulations. This was awesome. We can't thank everybody enough for participating in the chili cook-off. We know we're going to be doing this again. We know it's going to be a lot bigger. And I think we're going to have so many contestants that we're going to have to do a lot. We're going to have to do a lottery is how it's going to have to work. So if we get over 25, we'll figure out the numbers on it. And
if we get more than 25 and 30, what we should do is have a part A, part B, and then have the two winners go in an all-out competition.
Yeah.
For fight to the death.
But fight to the death.
Really.
Whoa. Jason here in the chat. We've been doing the tailgate for years and is one of the first times we interacted with some of our neighbors. We are extremely thankful to hear that because that was our goal. We really wanted to get that barrier broken. Like apparently even from our fellow tailgaters, right? they believe that it's kind of like private parties out there.
Yeah, and I mean, I just want to clear a misconception here because John here says that there's a few people at tailgating who still don't hand out food to everybody, and that's fine.
That's fine.
That's definitely fine.
That's
That's
definitely
not what
fine.
it's about, right?
Yeah.
We're not asking people to hand out food. We personally like to do that because that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
That nobody's forcing us, nobody's paying us. We are doing that out of the bottom of our hearts because we want to hand out food to everybody and have a good time and have people come to us and take pictures on our speakers corner, and that's exactly what we want. But the whole point is the ability to just being able to, like you say, Jason, speak to your neighbor,
Yeah.
being able to just have a drink and enjoy a drink together and just chat with other people in the tailgate. And there's tons of kids running around, and I've seen it a lot more than now. You have little groups of kids that now will hang out together and they'll be playing ball by the church over there with that little green area
on the hill. Yeah.
and on the hill. And that's what, in my opinion, it should be, right? A big party. The food is beside the point. If you want to give out food, that is completely up to you, but nobody's asking that of you.
Well,
right?
and we talked about it on Edmonton Sports Talk today. I was lucky enough to join in on the hangout over there, and we talked about it. In America, the tailgate is so much bigger, and the tailgate is it's an event of its own, right? But one of the best parts of the tailgate is the fact that you can go up and you can shoot the breeze with anybody, and they will hand you food. And sure, you don't have to. Nobody's paying for it. You don't do that. But the reason that we do it is because we're trying to make this like a traditional American tailgate.
Mhm.
The whole point of the CFL taking this on is to try to mimic exactly what the NFL is doing. Why? Because it works. And with the CFL now getting into tailgating and getting into that space, it's all about building the atmosphere now. So, Turf District, when we were on the Turf District earlier in the year,
Mhm.
we talked about how we need to do that. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and the biggest point too is the fact that we have all these little spots that are, they're empty spots and people are kind of using them for
Mhm.
parking, but we're starting to see those fill up now.
Mhm.
When we talked about that on the Turf District, those spots that people are starting to use strictly for parking, I think this year, after, I don't know, most of the games, this was the second last home game, so
Yeah.
eight games these people came in strictly for parking. This time they came in to tailgate.
Yeah, and who knows? Next year we might, depending on how the season goes,
Yeah.
if it's not necessarily a game that we would like to see live, there are people at the tailgate that are more than willing to just sit outside, have a TV, and just watch the game out there
Yeah.
with everybody at the tailgate just having a few drinks and enjoying the time. So that's kind of the culture that you're trying to build in that, right? That you're just so comfortable with your neighbors and building new friendships that you could even have just as grand of a time outside
Yeah.
of the tailgate than inside watching the game.
No, totally. And Jason, we will definitely be looking forward to seeing you at the next tailgate. Please come down to number 44. John here says October 14th. It's going to start at 11 a.m. It's usually 2 hours before the game. We'll see, because I talked once again on EST today. We're going to be doing the breakfast. We're going to do bacon and egg sandwiches.
Yeah,
I think we're going to
probably.
do bacon and egg sandwiches.
I'm okay with
Maybe
that.
a little hash brown too.
As long as it's not your gross pogos. But
It's not the poke. No, we're gonna do bacon and egg sandwiches. Planning beer mimosas. Nice. I have another name for those. Beer mimosas
Perfect.
and breakfast tacos.
Oh, those sound amazing.
That does sound amazing,
Oh my
Jason.
gosh. Don't they have those? Like the little taquitos?
I
That
think
you can
so.
just
I think so.
mm.
Candor up here at the top. Oh, we got a busting chat today, guys. I love it. Tailgate has made the
Yeah, there you
experience
go.
much better these last few years. It's great you guys are looking at ways to keep the experience going. Thank you. No, and once again, this is why we do it, right? We wanna have fun with everybody else, and we also don't want it to be private parties. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Steve is not going to be smoked eggs.
Smoked
No,
eggs?
no,
Smoked
no,
eggs.
no,
You know
that's
what?
no, don't even.
Steve, that's a
Don't
great
give him
idea. I like that
ideas.
idea. Let's put the Calgary tailgate to shame. ABC, love it.
Yes.
Candor, love it. And you know what? How about a tailgate for the Heritage Classic. Nobody's talked about a tailgate for the Heritage Classic yet.
It's in the middle of freaking winter.
So if we had a Western final, we would be tailgating in the winter.
I guess.
You haven't experienced that yet.
Just a whole lot of hot toddies that we need.
A lot of hot toddies. A lot of hot toddies.
Right,
so once again, stall number 2, Deanne and Merv Jennings. You guys are the first annual Edmonton Elks Tailgate Chili Cook-Off champions.
Congratulations, and you deserve it. We actually had tons of people walking by saying that they voted for you guys. We kind of were expecting it, but we didn't know for sure. And we definitely took a look at your stall, and it was amazing.
The presentation was definitely the best out of everybody. Yeah, yeah. The presentation was top notch.
Yes, it was lovely. So thank you so much. Congratulations. You will get all of your prizes during the next home game that we have at the next tailgate that we have, and yeah.
Including the trophy.
Including the trophy. And the way that this is going to work is you get to keep the trophy until somebody else takes it away from you.
Yes, exactly. Well, we'll probably recover it for the start of this. Well, yeah, no. Yeah, we'll recover it for the next.
Yeah. We'll see if we can get like a little sticker or something.
His
to
chest
have, like,
is
the 2023 winner and have stall number 2. And then we can just have it like a Grey Cup, but it just has all the winners throughout all the years.
Yeah, no, we're going to label it every year, so then that way you know who won every year. It's going to be a point of pride for all of us tailgaters. Catherine and I at the Elks Herd, we will not be participating next year.
We won't compete because it was hard enough to organize all of that to get everything sorted.
Not only that, but we want other tailgaters to get in there and participate and to have fun with it. So by us leaving, it opens up a spot for somebody else. But that also means we get to host it and have fun and taste the chilies as well.
Definitely.
And get in on that fun.
I did not get to taste any chilies, and I was super disappointed. So, Jason, since the rest of the results were not released, I am just going to assume it was a restaurant.
What is your number, Jason? What is your number?
I have it upstairs, but we can tell you. We have all the numbers written down.
Yeah, shoot us your stall number, and we'll let you know right now.
Not right now. I don't have it on me.
No, but okay.
We'll let you know after. So.
No, but we're gonna have to look at it. We'll let you know. We'll let you know, Jason. We'll definitely keep you posted.
But all right, let's keep the conversation going. It's time for our affiliate shout out, if you want to do that.
All right. So Edmonton Sports Update.
Oh.
Actually.
Okay.
Did you know that it is the Edmonton Sports Update? Today's update is brought to you by Herdy's. Catch us at every Edmonton Elks tailgate party in stall number 44. Herdy's. We smoke the meats. Last Friday, the Edmonton Elks fell to the BC Lions 37-29. This week, they are on the bye. The Edmonton Oilers are on a preseason road trip this weekend, visiting Calgary to take on the Flames on Friday night, and then Vancouver to take on the Canucks Saturday. Both games start at 7 p.m. Mountain. The Edmonton Oil Kings are hosting the Lethbridge Hurricanes for a homestand series this weekend. Catch the team in action at Rogers Place on Friday at 7 p.m. and Sunday at 4 p.m. The University of Alberta Golden Bears football team fell to the UBC Thunderbirds 54-37 last Friday, ending their perfect record. They take on the Regina Rams in Edmonton on Friday. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. Mountain. Definitely head on down to Foot Field. We're the Elks Herd. You're up to date. Alrighty, and then our affiliates. Let's get you guys some deals right now. Let's get these deals going. RoyalRetros.com. Guess what? The USFL might be gone, which means all of that great vintage USFL gear can be found on RoyalRetros.com. Use code STAMPEDE for 10% off over at RoyalRetros.com to celebrate the 2023 USFL champions, the Birmingham Stallions. Giddy up. And then Things Engraved, ladies and gentlemen, there is always a sale going on over at thingsengraved.ca. Check out our link in the description to go check out some Shotgun Sports and the Elks Herd merch. Some of that merch is actually going in that prize pack. So fantastic. There's always something on sale over at thingsengraved.ca. Go check it out. And then, uh, if you're bored this week, you can take a shower and you can use some premium Canadian soap in that shower. Lather, LATHR.com or .ca? Is it lather.com? .com. Yeah, but they are Canadian.
They are.
Use Shotgun Sports 15 to get 15% off over at lather.com. And then Aspire Physio. I want to give a shout out. My buddy Amin, he just opened up his second location. Very successful business. Aspire Physio. So down in Ellerslie, that was their first location, but he just opened up a location down in Century Park.
Perfect.
So physio needs, if you ever need physio, go down to Aspire Physiotherapy. It's aspirephysiotherapy.ca. Go check them out. Tell them the Elks Herd sent you, and I don't know if you're going to get a deal, but just tell them that we sent you. It'll put a smile on their faces.
Definitely.
Let's put it that way. All right. Before we continue forward, Chili Cook-Off was tons of fun. Thanks again for hosting. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you very much, Pierre, for getting in on that. Fan forum. Let's open it up.
Yeah.
This is the best part of the show. I think we're going to go to an hour and a half today.
Probably.
Yeah, I think we're going to go to an hour and a half.
Depending on how the conversations go.
Exactly.
Here, with all of you guys in the chat.
Oh, this is great, guys. This is a really great episode, especially for not having a guest. Our guest called in. You guys are the guest today, so this is amazing. Thank you so much. And shout out to our listeners, Edmonton Sports Talk, and anybody that's listening on your favorite podcatcher, people call it podcatcher, but wherever you stream your podcast. Fan forum. Okay, so this is the segment called the Fan Forum, where we're going to talk about some hot topics surrounding Edmonton sports today. And our live listeners will get to chime in on each topic we discuss. Make sure you comment in the live chat after we ask a question, and we'll look at the chat, and we're going to bring you into the show. So definitely get in on this with us, guys. And we got some spicy hot topics today. First one. Toronto Argonauts have chosen to sit their starting quarterback in Chad Kelly in their upcoming game in Winnipeg against the Blue Bombers. Should fans be upset about the Toronto Argonauts sitting their star players and taking the best on best aspect away from the game?
Yeah, I mean, for this, I don't know what to think. Because whereas I definitely see that you should always be playing your best game, just as Steve Benassi said, right? There's also the idea of giving your star players a rest. Although, now that I think about it, no, because if it was any other sort of circumstance, right? If they should always be playing, you should always be playing your starters. That's what they're getting paid for. So I take that back. I think they should have played.
Yeah. You were on the other side of the fence.
For a little bit, and then I thought about it, and I was like, well, that's what their expectations are.
I think it's hilarious. I think they should. I think they should sit him. Why? Because you're playing a nothing burger of a game against a potential Grey Cup matchup. So you want to go ahead and give your direct game film against your team to the opposition, right? A lot of people are upset about this because it does take away that best on best game. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have now sold out their third game in a row. Part of the reason for this, I think one of those was the Banjo Bowl. And one of this now is a potential best on best. So when you have that taken away from you.
But how fantastic would that match would have been?
Yeah, and it would have been great.
Like entertainment purposes, for entertainment wise, I would love to see a Blue Bombers against a Toronto Argos with Chad Kelly.
But you might get to see that in the Grey Cup, and if
but you don't know.
But if Chad Kelly gets injured in this game, you might not see that in the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
See?
I don't know. We have Jason here says yes, only because it would have been a marquee match up and one of the best games of the year, and they're hiding from that. That's exactly what I just said.
I like it.
If it would have been super entertaining.
Yeah, it's gonna lose views now, right? Once people tune in, and I forget Duke. I think his name is Duke or something. That backup quarterback they got going in. People are gonna tune in. They're gonna go, oh, it's not Chad Kelly. Oh, this is a nothing burger game, and I get it. Let's see what Steve. Okay, Steve If it was the last game before the playoffs, I can understand it. At this point of the season, bad move. And I think where I will agree is you take a look at, let's say, 1980s Eskimos. 1980s Eskimos. Now, yes, they did have decent backup quarterbacks at those times, but mostly these players played right through. These guys usually played right through right until the playoffs, and that's actually part of the development and gaining steam. And like, let's say even with the Edmonton Esks back in 2015, Mike Riley, for the most part, played those games. Maybe I honestly don't remember the last game of the season. Maybe that would have been one that he sits out. And Steve does have a point. He actually has a very great point. Yes. I mean, you
But
do usually sit your guys in the last game or two, just like NHL
yeah,
playoffs, right?
yeah,
NHL
we have
playoffs.
seen that. We have seen that quite
Yeah.
a few times. But if you were Chad Kelly and you had the opportunity to play against one of the best,
You'd want to play. As a competitor, you'd want to play. Now, strategically, this makes sense. Unfortunately, for strategical reasons, this is a very smart move to not give away a lot of your playbook and any calls, any
have they?
hand signs,
They
a
haven't
lot.
clinched yet, right?
No,
The
Argos
Argos
have,
have?
yeah.
They
Argos
have?
and
Okay.
Winnipeg both have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they know that they will be.
Yeah. Well, but
competing.
they don't know they're going to be facing off in the Grey Cup. Once
Yeah.
again, just like any other sport,
Of
you make it
course.
into the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yes.
Karma will bite him by Steve. Yeah, yeah. I think you're right there. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe. I mean, it's
But what if
and
they get the Grey Cup?
we also have BC in the line, and we have
Yeah,
seen great games there,
yeah, that's
right?
true.
So
Can't discount BC and Vernon.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we have half of the job is selling the game as much as it is winning. I feel the NBA is also starting to hurt from this, where buying tickets to a game is a big risk, as some stars might take the game off. I agree. I mean, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, football is entertainment,
Yeah.
right? You also have to be mindful of what the people want to see and what the people want to pay for. Now, it might be a strategical move, but at the same time, people are going to see that. And are fans losing a little bit of respect from
Yeah, I
this?
mean, I don't know. I don't think that they should, just based on the strategical point, right? But I understand also, yes, very valid point. It is entertainment, and people did pack that stadium to watch the Toronto Argonauts, the number one team in the East and last year's champion.
No,
They want to see that team,
this will be
right?
an away game for them.
This will be an away game.
Right.
So once again, if you don't have to, which Toronto Argonauts, they have a very hard time with their attendance. Let's be real. They have a very hard time. So no, they can't afford to sit
Mhm.
their star players in a
No.
home scenario, but away when it's a potential Grey Cup matchup. I understand it. I kind of appreciate it from the strategical standpoint as a fan, and many other pundits in the CFL have said this today. Uh, yeah, as a fan, you just kind of cringe because, or you say no.
We have Candor27 saying 1 to 2 games for the CFL isn't too bad, but any more than that seems excessive. Has he been sent out?
No, this
No,
is
right?
this.
This
I'm
will
pretty
be
sure this would be the first game,
yeah.
and they did say that he will play a bit, but I think the focus, like he's definitely not starting the game.
Yeah.
So he's not taking the number one reps.
They're taking that away from us.
But you know what? Also, from a strategical standpoint, you want to get your backup a little bit acclimated to the game just in case he has to jump in there, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if they're completely start just bombing the game, you see what
Yeah.
I did there? But if they
Uh,
start bombing the game, they probably will bring him in. But
yeah.
we'll see. I mean, I do agree with Steve that the league can't be too happy
League
about
can't be
this,
happy.
but it's, I mean,
Well, and especially too when the CFL, like I do understand that because the CFL is trying to sell games. They have to get people in these stadiums. But right now, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers aren't having a hard time selling
Mhm.
tickets, right?
No,
The
no.
Blue Bombers, people want to go see them because they have a really good shot at the cup, just like we used to be all the time.
Mhm.
But yeah, like they're that constant contender right now. So good for Winnipeg for selling those tickets. Like props to you. At the same time, do I understand it? Yes. As a fan, sure, it takes the excitement out of it. I'm not going to be watching that game probably that night. That's for sure.
No, I just want to see if
You
they
will
lose
lose viewers, I
horribly.
guess. Yeah, you will lose
So
viewers.
now it's the other. Now it's the other end. Now I want to
Yeah.
see if they're just gonna completely lose the game
If they're
horribly.
gonna bomb it,
If they're gonna
yeah.
bomb it. But all right, let's move on to our second topic.
Second topic. All right, prices. Everybody likes talking money, right? We all like talking money because we got to spend it every day and we got to make it every day. Our lives are awesome. Anyways, so as per a repost of someone's picture showing the 2023 menu board at Rogers Place, which had a burger and beer combo for $29.25 plus tax. That repost is gaining heavy opinions on the Elks Herd X account. Are these prices reasonable given the price of admission and other Oilers add-ons such as Oilers Plus? And I hope everybody in the chat, I hope you guys get in on this too.
I just can't. I can't. And now I'm just talking general. It's not even just the Oilers, right? Because you go to a concert. We're going to be going to the Iron Maiden concert on Friday, the next Friday or Saturday,
Yeah.
and just the thought of having to spend almost $20 on a beer, it makes me
Yeah.
cringe.
Well, let's say for 2 beers it's almost $30, which is still you can buy a case of beer for $24, like a decent case of beer. We're not talking Canadian, but even then you could probably get a case of Canadian for $30, right?
Yeah, no, and it's like I don't know where it's coming from. What I would think, and I assume that this is what it is if you go down to the States, it is very common practice for you to pay $15 USD for a beer
Yeah.
wherever you go for any event, right? So is it a lot, a lot of these organizations saying that, hey, everybody down south is paying these prices and that's common practice, then we can do that here as well. Right? Is that where that's coming from? Is that mentality? Because otherwise, I cannot. I mean, I know inflation, I know all of this is happening, but that's a little excessive, in my opinion.
Well, and I've been to Barclays in New York and Brooklyn, and I spent 16 to 17 or 18 around then, and we're talking like 5 years ago. Like I think the math on it worked out to be 17 or $18 for a tall boy of like a tall glass, the same size that you get at Rogers, except a lot more expensive because it's in New York. And yeah, I mean it was Corona or Modelo. I believe it was Modelo. But even then, that was excessive. I've been to Seattle and a large Bud Light, a tall boy, and that is that is actually a tall boy, and I want to say that that was $13 American. So once again, 15, 16 bucks Canadian or whatever. Uh, yeah, I think that you might be onto something because it does kind of seem like a universal pricing structure. It's just that the prices are starting to get out of hand. And I've been to many concerts, many sporting events. The most affordable sporting event still is a CFL game.
Definitely. I mean, people still complain about the prices down at Commonwealth, but just a few minutes away down at Rogers is twice the price that you pay, right? And my fear is that they'll start to adapt those kind of prices and mentality, which that would just be
Well, and
suicide, I think.
I mean,
Definitely.
I've heard about how the pricing structure works within Commonwealth. The prices are mostly set by Molson. So a lot of these prices are mostly set by the beer manufacturers. I'm not sure about the profit numbers and everything else, but I will say I don't know many sporting venues or sports events where you can drink your own booze in the
No.
parking lot with a red Solo cup. Friendly reminder, all tailgaters, promote the red Solo cup because we do not need to lose the tailgate.
We can't.
We can't lose
Can't
it. We
lose
can't
that.
lose it. That being said, though, I don't know many other events that allow you to do that. And even on the other side, on the east side of the stadium, they also have the Coors Light Fan Fest, $5 beers.
Yeah, very,
Or
very
$5.50,
affordable.
maybe $6 now with inflation, right? But
Yeah.
that's still a lot cheaper than the $10 you're spending inside.
Well, and you see other sporting events here locally as well, like the Riverhawks. Very affordable food, extremely
Yeah.
affordable drinks, and you still go there to have a good time, right? And that's the thing. When people are having a good time and it's reasonable, I can guarantee you that I would be more willing to go and buy seconds or thirds
Yeah.
when it's a reasonable price than having a $15 beer and say this has to last me the next 3 hours.
Sure. Well, and let's even make the argument of the Oil Kings games. And I love you and I love Oil Kings games. Oil Kings games are great. However, you're still spending
Mhm.
14, 15, however much on a beer.
Like at the end of the day, two kids, we try to make it a family event, and you end up spending $200 just
Yeah.
to get everybody down to the game and buying popcorn and drinks and trying to have a good time. And suddenly it's just something that you should have saved up for. Right?
Yeah. No, and so the live chat, pop it on this one for
Yeah.
sure. Gotten to the point where I can't justify buying anything once I've entered the building. It's crazy. And
Yes.
to a degree, I mean, we agree, right? There's unfortunately when you go to a concert, I'm always gonna have a beer too. That's just how it works. But am I gonna have anything more? No, I've never
No.
ordered the nachos.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I there's many things I could speak about that building. The worst part about it is the fact that the prices are so absolutely ridiculous. And I mean I've been to stadiums all over, and once again, right? I will strictly only get the beer. Blue Jays, I wish I could have caught a Toonie Tuesday. Stephen Benassi, totally price gouging, unacceptable. Agreed. Commonwealth's not too bad, but at Rogers, I would never buy anything. Well, and see, it's breaking down that barrier of getting people to buy things. And somebody messaged us today. Somebody messaged us in the inbox today. Don't know exactly the context behind it, but or the tone behind it. Sorry, the tone.
Mhm.
But I will say, the comment was people that go to the Oilers games don't complain about the prices because the prices don't matter to them. Right.
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 Saying that
So
if you can afford to go to an Oilers game, you can afford the overpriced beer.
yeah.
That's besides the point. Like, to be honest, there are times that we will make a plan to go see a game ahead of time. And even if we have to save up for it, right? Got nothing to do with our socioeconomical status here that we
No.
have, right? But that still doesn't matter because you still expect the pricing of the concession items to be reasonable.
Well, fair pricing, right? Like, I mean, for a burger like that, if you go to Sherwood Park Crusaders game, if you go to Randy Rosen Rink, you can get a I would say the quality on that burger you're gonna get at the Randy Rosen is around like a 25% less quality,
Mhm.
and you're paying $5 or $6 or
Mhm.
something, right? You go to any small arena, you get that poutine. That poutine's gonna be $5 to $7. I can tell you all the prices right now of all of our local
Yeah.
arenas and small towns and everything else. The moment you step into Rogers, that price goes up times 3 to times 4.
Yep. Yeah.
And
It's just like Stephen Assey says here, it's just a 20-30% markup at least.
we'll take a reasonable 20 to 30%. Anything over that is robbery.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
But
it's painful, right? It's
at
painful,
least.
especially too because it, sure, taxpayers didn't have to pay for it, but now we're going to pay for it by entering the building and wanting a beer or wanting. And even then, let's say the beer is excusable. It's the food options. If Mercedes-Benz Stadium down in Minnesota, it's Minnesota Vikings. Is that Minnesota or is it Atlanta? I think it's Atlanta. Atlanta Falcons. It's
I don't know.
Atlanta Falcons. They have the reasonable pricing. They have like a $5 menu or something. We're talking about in the States. We're talking about in a stadium.
Yeah.
To have a value menu like that, you will have people lining up at those.
Definitely. On exactly that point, and John has just pointing it out, right? The Oilers Entertainment Group needs to look at what the Stingers are doing for concessions, and they also
Totally.
have that
Yeah.
$5 menu.
Yeah.
They certainly do.
Well, and the Stingers actually this year had a massively successful season off the court.
Hmm.
Off the court. Obviously, on the court, they made it to the
Hmm.
playoffs. Floundered. Sucks. We didn't win a championship for once. Dang Stingers. But that being said, their biggest wins were their attendance numbers. They had the best attendance of their lifespan so far, and partially because $5 food menu. Would I love to see something like that happen at Commonwealth? Oh my lord!
Yeah.
You will pack the
Oh
stands on
my
a
goodness.
$5 menu alone.
and that's another point, right? What is that doing to the organization? Jason here says that he went to an Oils King game last year for a Berard game,
Yeah.
and at intermission, all concession stands in the lower area had no one buying anything. It's the first time that he has seen anything like that. And like, what does that say?
Well, that says that people don't like literally do not want to buy anything because of the prices. And we have a family. We have a family.
Yes.
We bring our family to events. We buy at the concessions at Commonwealth. And no, it's not just because we're Elks fans. It's because the kids are hungry. That's the reality
They see
of it.
popcorn and they want popcorn.
They know
and
they're
will
getting
not
like
shut up until they get popcorn.
they know they're getting a ton of food at the tailgate, and then they also know that they're going to get popcorn, and they don't even ask for more than that.
No, they just want the popcorn because everybody else is having it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not gonna say no to a couple of kids having popcorn at the game.
And then they wear the bucket on their head. So it's a massive win-win. There was actually a John comment up here. He was asking us
We have
great question.
Oh, that's okay. That's a little.
Yeah. So how do you think Hamilton Grey Cup Committee pulled off getting Carrie Underwood when Edmonton Grey Cup Committee 2018? Alicia Cara, by the way, is who that is in 2018.
Isn't she pretty big?
She's pretty big now. Back in 2018, I think she had one or two songs. But Hamilton Grey Cup Committee, I don't know. They worked magic. It was a good one. From what I'm hearing, the Grey Cup format, especially with the concerts and the shows, that's actually changing. So instead of doing one big halftime show and having that as your one act, they're actually going to do a full weekend.
What?
So the Arkells, I suspect that the Arkells are going to get announced for either halftime or the Saturday night show because Friday night is Carrie Underwood.
Listen, until we get Beyonce here, I'll be happy.
We will not. Well, we've had her at Commonwealth, but we're never going to get her for halftime. Never going to get her for halftime. Oil Kings have a $10 menu for kids now, probably because of what was just mentioned.
Yeah.
That's probably exactly it. New concession, yeah. So Western Foods deals with the concessions. They also deal with the facilities maintenance over there as well. I know because I've asked and I've wanted to work there. So, who knows? That's all great news there, John. Thank you very much.
I think just to close that off, we all can agree that those prices are
those
ridiculous.
prices are crazy.
And I think it's going to take people not buying into it to actually make an impact. Because if people are not spending money, then the organization is forced to reconsider what has changed and perhaps change it back. And all those rich people out there in Edmonton, stop buying concession items.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way she goes. Okay, guys, the last fan form question. We're gonna go outside of the CFL a little bit. We're gonna talk about the USFL and the XFL. Kind of because Bama Boy was supposed to be here tonight.
That was our guest.
Yes. So the USFL and XFL will be merging to form a new league, the National Spring Football League, right? NSFL. So they're forming a new league. The CFL declined a merger with the XFL in recent years. Mm-hmm. Do you think this new merger is smart? And how will this affect the CFL?
I don't know. I mean, that is a big question. I think it is smart to answer that first part of the question because they were obviously losing money. It needed to happen because they were those leagues were not going to go anywhere. And the only way that they could make something happen would be through a merger, which is questionable that it's even a merger, to be honest, because everything is under the rebranding of the USFL to the new NSFL branding. And that just makes you question as to whether it is an actual, equal merger or if they just decided to buy out the XFL.
Well, and the way that I see it is the XFL was already running around trying to make a deal with somebody. They went ahead and did the season on their own, which that's great. They operated the season. They did great. What was it? 20 million in losses? But do you remember the number?
Yeah,
it's around 20 million or 20 million plus in losses. They they lost a lot of money operating for the season. It's either 6 million or 20 million. It's somewhere around there, but I had the number. Either way, XFL is losing money. So the XFL has restarted 3 times now, and now from everything that we're seeing, we've analyzed all the data, and this looks like the USFL is eating up the XFL.
Totally.
Right? Something that we were talking about before we jumped on was in a merger, somebody is always the bigger dog. Mergers
Somebody's
are
gonna
very,
lose.
very rarely perfectly down the middle. That doesn't happen. As per reports, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and Danny Garcia have been getting emailed, and their emails are actually people that are emailing them, the emails are bouncing back. So their emails, their XFL emails right now are offline. They've been immediately shut
That's a
down.
rumor so far, though. We don't
That's
know
a
for
rumor,
sure.
but people they're very credible sources. So that being
Twitter is
said,
not a credible source.
XFL News Hub
Okay,
is.
that's good.
Shout out to XFL News Hub for having the leak on that. That being
That's
said,
good.
yeah, it's not looking very good for the XFL. It looks like the XFL has once
Mhm.
again been eaten up, or sorry, the XFL is no longer operating as a sole entity. So, do I think that this is going to affect the CFL? Yes, because you still have the equivalent of 2 spring football leagues operating as one. They will be taking some of those Americans that don't want to make the trip up to Canada. Maybe you can get a bigger contract out of the NSFL by proving your CFL stats. There's lots of scenarios. Yes, it will in the end still affect us. However, they're losing teams. Between that merger, there are going to be less teams. So that's actually good for the CFL.
Yeah. So I see what you mean. What you're saying is that it will affect American viewers of the CFL, but I
The
don't.
talent pool. No, the
I,
talent pool. I'm talking about the talent pool, like our
I hadn't
players,
thought
right?
about that. In terms of viewership, I don't think it's going to affect the Canadian viewership because Canadians
No.
don't really care about the USFL or the XFL or
We
whatever
care
the
about the
new one is.
NFL, though.
They count, yeah, sure, they care about the NFL, but that's just something that we have always had and we have always competed, and that's why our schedules never match, so that there
Right.
is no competition in terms of viewership, right? I do agree with the talent, though.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of American talent will have another place to look into. I mean, they were already doing that though with the USFL and the XFL. Now, and I agree with Jason here in a comment that he just made, saying that for them, I think the merger is good to not compete with each other in the American market. As for the CFL, shouldn't really affect Canadian viewers as they will stick to the NFL or home team,
Yeah.
which I completely agree. Um,
That's a very good point.
but it's, now there's less competition. So now there's one team. And really, when you think about American talent, before they had 2 teams to go and choose from, and now there would be, or leagues, sorry, 2
Yeah.
leagues to choose from, and now there would only be one. And especially with teams kicking out, going
Yeah.
out, that would be less teams to actually choose from. So now, what does that do for talent? Do they have less or more
Well, now
choice?
now some of those, once again, the talent pool, it does actually help the CFL in that sense. Viewership, definitely not. We don't care up here. There is. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but for the majority of Canadians, they don't even care about the CFL, let alone let alone the XFL or the USFL, right? And once again, our viewers, our listeners, you guys are all awesome because we're all CFL fans. And football fans in general, right? NFL got that Packers gear on today. Yes, it is Aaron Rodgers gear, but miss that guy. But that being said, as far as alternatives to the NFL, the CFL is the next best thing for Canadians.
Yes.
So yes, we will be tuning in as Canadians to our product, to this new National Spring Football League. I feel like I'm actually less inclined to watch that than I was the USFL or the XFL.
Yeah, that's my question. Are they going to stick it out to spring? Because if they are,
That's a good
then of
question.
course there's no overlap with the NFL.
Yeah.
But if they bring it into summer and there's overlap with the NFL, nobody's going to be watching that. Everybody's going to be watching the NFL.
Yeah.
And then they're just going to, once again, bomb.
Well, and yeah, like let's talk about that merger. They're talking about it here in the chat. That potential CFL XFL merger. So the Rock approached, or the Redbird Capital Group XFL approached the CFL and said, "Hey, let's make a deal. We know you guys are coming out of COVID. We know you guys need money. Excuse me. We need things too." Is basically what they said.
Mhm.
We need things too. Let's make a deal. The XFL just lost 20 million.
Yeah.
The XFL had to go to the USFL, which the USFL is owned by Fox. We have done media coverage this year for the USFL Birmingham Stallions. We did get in a couple press conferences for Ryan, help him out a little bit, and yeah, I mean we're there along Fox Sports. So Fox Sports, huge deal. They got the money. They don't care about losing money because if anything, they can balance their books with this. If you're a little bit smart in the business sense, you could probably use this to balance the books out elsewhere, right? So Fox doesn't really care that much, even if they did lose. And do I think they lost a little bit? Sure. They did their own media coverage for their own brand.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's gonna flop. Give it a year. I'm not sure how successful it's gonna be.
Well, the USFL has stayed alive now for 2 seasons.
Now, how would this compare to college football?
Ooh.
Like in terms of viewership, or because now you have like 3 different things that are going
It would be
football
like
wise.
if you got dropped down like a division or two. I don't know. Like as far as like the competition, it would be a new university. Well, I guess a new league like the Pac-12. If one of those guys like disappeared and another one popped up or something. I really don't know. I'm not a big college football expert to be honest, but
Yeah, but
I don't
like,
know.
is that another competition? Well, obviously you would go from college football to
Yeah,
something
see,
that
you
would be
can't
the
really compare
alternative,
it
right?
because there's too many colleges.
Yeah.
So all of the colleges, I mean, no matter what, you're gonna have a star and
Yeah.
trash. I mean, no matter
But
what.
I just know how big college football is in the
Yeah.
US, right? How are you going to try to infiltrate that you currently have with college football and the NFL
Oh,
from
like
an
how to
outsider, right?
um
Do you really think that the NSFL would ever have the same amount of success as
listen to you.
yeah.
NSFL on me here.
Do you think that they would have the same amount of success as college football in the
No.
NFL?
No, because college football is truly the biggest football in the
Yeah.
States. So you can't be college football. If anything, it's you have to strictly compete with NFL, right? The only way you're going to look at this is an NFL conversation. College, you can't compare that just because there's too much legacy, too many teams. There's no way that you can compete with any of like let's say the SEC. Like that league alone makes a ton of
Mhm.
money and is an all-star league. Like the
It's
SEC is
crazy.
just absolutely amazing.
It's
So
crazy. It definitely is crazy.
all right, let's jump in this chat. What do we got here?
Yeah, I see a lot of I don't know how it will affect the CFL. Time will tell. Stephen Assey says, I don't think Americans will ever accept the league that is not the NFL. I agree.
Nice, I like it, Steve. I like it.
um, and yes, we read that again. And
New
this
NSFL.
Yeah, here for Jason. The new NSFL will need to rely on ticket sales to make more money and should market their game to a younger, more dedicated fan base that starts with cheap beer and a party scene.
Kind of like what the Elks just tried to do. What's interesting about that is they are talking about hubs for that. So with the hub city thing, where you have like 4 teams or 2 teams in one city, it's tough on building fan base. You don't really build your
Mhm.
fan base that easily by doing that. Having home games is great. However, having a dedicated home stadium for every team, travel costs money. That's one of those frustrating parts. So I understand why they're doing the hub thing. It's to try to generate money and to try to make money
Mhm.
on the top end and save on the bottom end and all that other stuff. uh I think it's cheesy. I don't like hubs. I'm not a big fan of that. Candor 27 at the top. This time of year is the best for sports.
It is.
Candor, you are completely right.
I
I
agree.
once again mentioned that on
You,
EST today.
you get a little bit of everything.
You got Packers, Elks, Blue Jays, Leafs, Oilers. You got all sorts of teams playing all at once. So, and Raptors are going to be starting up right away. So it's
Mhm.
great. What's next on?
Over here we have Steve Benassi. That's totally right. College
Yeah,
football does not pay their players, and that actually brings a question, right, in terms of the pay structure. Like, who do you think, compared to, let's talk talent, right?
yeah,
A scout goes to the United States and is looking for talent, and the options is between the newly merged NSFL and the CFL.
right.
Which one's going to pay better?
Hard to say. I from what I know, actually, you know what? AAF, everybody had a flat rate salary. I do not know about the financials of
Yeah.
these leagues. So
Because I think that's going to be a really big part as to how successful this league is. Obviously, if they want players, if they want, to retain talent, they're going to have to pay them.
yeah, that's well, and no matter what in any league, right? And with their challenge, if your player is too good, he's going off to the NFL.
Of course.
Right.
Hmm.
So, and some guys, they will be leaguers, they will be leaguer lifers, they will stick around in that league for 10 years or 15 years or whatever. Good on them. They'll make decent money at it. I do think that the CFL will pay more in certain circumstances. However, you have to pay Canadian tax and everything else on top of it.
Right.
The Canadian tax scenario is a very, very big
Mhm.
thing for American football players.
Mhm.
They do not like it.
No.
And I agree.
And that is why, as Jason says, American players will stay in America first if that's an option.
Yes, and that's why I asked that question. How will this affect the CFL?
Mhm.
Trey Watson was on our team last year on the Edmonton Elks. As soon as an XFL opportunity came up, St. Louis
Yep.
Battlehawks,
He
he
went for
shipped
it.
his family down and he was down there and he got that opportunity. And he did leave Edmonton before that opportunity came up. However, he got that opportunity not too long after. So, and good on him. Good for Trey Watson doing that. And he has a huge family. Christian Watson, his brother, is playing for the Green Bay Packers.
He is.
So, yeah, I mean, Christian Watson is blowing up down there. He obviously wants to be close to his family, especially when his brother is like blowing up in the NFL. So good on him. Don't blame anybody. Let's say if a Canadian had the choice, sure, NFL has a lot of money, but
Mhm.
John Ryan, even at the end of his career, came back to Canada and kicked the
Yeah.
ball around for a couple teams up here in Canada before he called it quits. Last team, Edmonton Elks last year. So I mean, he came back home
Yeah.
despite, and sure, maybe there
Well,
wasn't an NFL offer there.
and maybe that was just, the reputation. As Steve Benassi here says that I'm not going to say that first part. You're not that old, Steve. But
Yeah.
I remember when the CFL played way better than the NFL. And I'm sure that, when the reputation of the CFL is so much bigger than the NFL, people would want to come and play.
Well, no, pay. So that was pay, and what it was. Yes, you're correct. Still in that statement. So back in the day, you had players that had NFL options that they could go down and play in the NFL, but the CFL all of a sudden paid more. Rocket Ismail, I want to say
Oh,
Rocket. He was one of those players that was paid handsomely to play in Canada, and he
interesting.
did. So the CFL was bigger than the NFL for a period of time. Sure, maybe only in dollars, but we actually did have premier talent up here.
Mhm.
We were paying guys, there was no salary cap. You're used to modern day sports with salary caps.
Yes.
In baseball, we talk about the Yankees and how they always pay over that they
Mhm.
always pay their luxury tax and everything else. But back in the day, you did not have those salary caps, or at least you could have a star player an exemption, right? So yes, we had guys up here making more money than the NFL. And I honestly don't know, Steve, what the tax scenario was back then. Hopefully it was better, but even if it was similar to how it is now, they would have paid more to offset those taxes.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
very, very big.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we are all out of our questions here, but I did want to scroll before we go anywhere else because we are super close to our closing time here.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the end of the episode. So I did see that Merv Jennings did comment
The
about
the
that. The
winner
winner
got
of the
in the chat.
the chili cook-off, and he says, "We would like to thank everyone who enjoyed our chili and voted during the cook-off. Thank you to the Elks Herd and Shug Sports Network for hosting and supporting this fun competition. Cheers." We hope you thoroughly enjoy the bragging rights for the next year
Yeah, the
and
trophy.
all the and,
Oh, we heard some crazy stories coming out of there. So
mhm.
Catherine and I were both trying to man our station while tasting other people's chilies and talking with people and having a beverage or two with our friends. And you had to be an octopus to truly appreciate what you were doing in that moment. But that being said, and I mean, we had an absolute blast. We wouldn't have it any other way. We really wanted to be that busy. So thank you so much, guys. But
Yes.
the legends coming out of stall number 2, custom spice, the display. Like as soon as we drove in, we
I
showed
thought it
up.
was a birthday party.
Yeah, like we thought somebody was turning 22. No, it was number 20, number 2 on each side of a big old balloon arch. When we drove in, we were literally right at the 2 hour mark because I had a secret weapon. It was going to be a spoon dispenser so that people could dispense their own spoons at the chili cook-off, and I had 200 of them in there, and I completely forgot it, and I needed 200 spoons on the fly, and you guys should have seen the scramble that was to achieve the 200 spoons. We did it though. We showed up. We were slanging spoons out of plastic bags. Doesn't matter. The number one
We
thing that
got it
does
done.
matter is that everybody had fun at the chili cook-off. The fact that it was successful, we're going to be doing it again. We're going to have a lot more fun with it. And we're going to make this an even bigger event. And we can't wait to have our fellow tailgaters in there with us. Next game, next home game, October 14th, I want to
Yes.
say. Alouettes. I was considering cooking chicken.
Well,
I
you
was going
still
to cook.
are. It's gonna
I
be eggs.
Nice. That is savage, babe. That is savage. That is amazing.
It's their
Spoon
little babies.
spoon gate. No, okay. So guys, this was an awesome episode. We thought we were going to be doing an hour-long episode. You guys made it awesome. So thank you so much to everybody in the live chat. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
to our listeners on wherever you're listening to this podcast. Thank you to our listeners over at Edmonton Sports Talk.
Yeah.
And
Overtime in the Oilers game, so I still got a chance to catch that, and that's where I'm going right now.
yeah, let's all go catch this overtime. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't thank you enough for joining us. My name is Scout, aka the Rep from Section X.
And Catherine, aka Do Even Elks.
And we are the Elks Herd. Thank you so much for tuning into the Elks Call. Everybody have an awesome night. Cheers.
Bye.